Hello everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome back to Christmas in Arkham 2024. We're just about set to continue the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament with Group 2, after Shub-Niggurath emerged from Group 1 last night to advance to the winner's group via dice roll tiebreakers over Haster. Nyarlathotep, of course, took three curses to Haster and Shub-Niggurath, both ending up with 1, and the aforementioned die roll. So we are all set to start with Group 2 this morning. So with that all set, let's go through a quick overview once again of what each location does. I'm not going to go through everything in detail about how the game plays, but we do need a couple of artifacts at the museum, and I'll explain why in a second. I'm just going to give the artifact deck a quick shuffle off camera. Okay. Move that over here, and I need to get something out of the box for one of our ancient ones in today's group. Okay, now that we've got that sorted out. Starting at the Other Worlds, so this is the altar game board. At the Other Worlds, this is where we sacrifice cultists to gain progress on the summoning track. At the museum, we can go pick up one of these 2 artifacts, and there are also control actions. First artifacts that we've got for our first Ancient Ones playthrough. Wizard's Grimoire, minimum hand size is 5. And Scepter of the Elders. Exhaust this to sacrifice 1 cultist from any location to flip one of your dice to the opposite face. Okay. Then at the ceremony down here, we got one of these gate cards that's essentially a wild card for movement, and we get to trigger our Ancient One's Dark Gift. At the Streets of Arkham, it works a little bit different in the solo game. In the solo game, you remove 2 cultists from your lodge, and that's slightly stronger with control. At the Gathering, we gain 3 cultists from the Abyss and can move one anywhere. Then at the library, we draw 3 spell cards, and then we can ready an additional spell using the same location, using the same spells, the same astral column at the location. We've also got our monster reserve up here that my buddy Cthulhu up here is just offshot keeping an eye on. Our first monster that we have to choose from is the Goat Spawn. On your turn, you may discard 1 token to place the Goat Spawn on a location, then roll 3 dice. For each lesser Elder Sign, move an investigator to another location. For each greater Elder Sign, move 1 investigator to any lodge, which I'm going to rule that will be move the investigators back to the supply. Then choose a cult with at least 1 cultist at the location. That cult becomes cursed. Basically garbage in the solo game. And the Baya Key. Upon summoning, gain a gate card and place the Baya Key on any location. On your turn, you may discard 1 token to move the Baya Key and any 2 cultists at its current location to any other location. Okay. And then our first ancient one that we're going through, leading off Group 2 today, we have Azathoth. We can see his summon track will start up here, and then we'll move that around in a circle until we get to 9. When we gain Elder Signs, as Azathoth's Dark Gift will do, we'll gain them in reverse order. We lose if we take 5 curses, and if our summon progress ever meets the Elder Signs, we'll take a curse from that as well. Azathoth's Dark Gift is to hasten doom, gaining 1 Elder Sign. Whenever he gains at least 1 Elder Sign during a turn, advance Azathoth's summon track by 1 at the conclusion of that turn. So even when the investigators are raiding us, theoretically, we're still making progress. Anyway, looking at our cards, first up we've got on a white, Enthrall taking 2 red. Choose a location that another cult destroys. Destroy 2 of their cultists from that location. Well, we've used that as investigators in the past. On a yellow, Power Surge taking a wild. Until the end of your turn, you control your current location. And Dark Pact on a blue and a white. Become cursed to prevent gaining all Elder Signs from a single source. Okay, I think with that, we are all set to get into this game. So let's jump in. We are controlling the Fate piece, the darker Fate piece, the one at the other worlds. The investigators will be in control of the light Fate piece that starts down at the streets of Arkham. We'll discard our Enthrall on a white to move down to the ceremony, which will put out a cultist and an investigator. We'll bring the dice tower into shot to see if we can gain temporary control of the location, which will also give us a stronger action. We need to see a Cthulhu on these special dice to get control of the temporary control of the location, which we do not get. That's a tentacle in there, but we won't get temporary control of the location. What we will get, however, is a gate card along with an Elder Sign, but that will give us progress on our summon track at the end of the turn. With 2 white, we're not preparing anything there. So on another white, we'll find Dark Pact, taking a green and a yellow. The investigators at the streets of Arkham will then discard a green to move over to the Gathering and place an investigator. We can't move to the streets of Art. We can't move to the ceremony. Actually, we could use the gate right here to go anywhere we want, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to discard the gate card to move up to the library, which will put out a cultist and an investigator, and then we'll bring the tower back in shot to roll for temporary control, which we don't get on a lesser Elder Sign. Rather unfortunate, but what we will get to do is draw 3 spell cards, and then we'll be able to ready an additional spell using red and white. On a blue, though, we'll find Command, taking wild and a red. Move a monster in a location or lodge to any other location or lodge. Well, I think I know what I'm using to move with next turn, if I can. On a green, Corruption, taking a blue and a white. Either sacrifice 2 cultists from your lodge or become cursed. Then you may advance 1 on the summon track or destroy 2 Elder Signs from your lodge. And on a red, Witch is cursed, taking a blue and a yellow. Choose a cult, that cult becomes cursed, except we use this also. In the solo game, we use this to remove our curses. Let's see, with a red and a white, I don't think there's anything there that we can prepare. No, there is not. So on a red, we will find Mind Switch, taking a blue and a green. Swap one of your cultists at any one location with any other cultist at a different location. I use that with investigators as well. At the Gathering, the investigators will discard a yellow to move down to the streets of Arkham and put an investigator out. And then since that command is Alhat Garbaggio, we'll discard that to make a beeline over to the museum. Cultist and an investigator. Rolling for temporary control of the location, which we do get. So we get a slightly stronger effect of the location there. But I will take the Wizard's Grimoire because I like having a minimum hand size of 5. And then replacing that will be the Elder Mask. Exhaust during your turn to place an additional investigator on your location, but discard, you don't take investigators from a location this turn. Let's see. Then we can sacrifice a cultist and get rid of this Elder Sign. I'm not going to sweep the artifact display. 2 blue, we're not preparing anything there. We can't use 2 of the same symbol as wilds in trying to prepare a spell. So on a yellow, we will find Enlighten the Faithful, taking red, white, blue. At the end of your turn, you may move up to 3 of your cultists from any one location to any other location. At the streets of Arkham, the investigators are discarding a blue, trying to move to the museum, except we're there already. So they'll move up to the other worlds, putting out an investigator and giving us our first curse. If we take 5 curses, we lose the game. Then coming back to us, let me look at my hand. I'd like to go over to the library if I can, because there's enough there that I could prepare Enlighten the Faithful, and I might be tempted to do that. Now I kind of do want that Witch's Curse to be available. So I can use that to clear a curse. And I think I will use... I think I'm going to use a Mind Switch on a red to move over to the library. Cultist and an Investigator. I do need to go down to the Gathering at some point to try to get rid of... to try to get some Cultists back so I don't take another Elder Sign penalty. Rolling for temporary control, which I do get, so I can ready a spell at no cost. I've got red, white, blue there, but first I need to draw my 3 spells. 1, 2, 3. First up on a red, a Find Gate taking blue and yellow. At the start of your turn, draw a gate card regardless of whether you have one already. During the move phase, you have to use it for movement. On a blue, the stars are right. Assign each cult, including yours, one of the following. Lose an Elder Sign, gain 2 cultists from the Abyss, gain 2 investigators, become cursed, which will probably be remove a curse, which could be remove a curse. And on green, coerce the innocent, taking red, white, yellow. Move up to 2 investigators from any one location or lodge to any lodges, which would probably be back to the supply. So we've got... So we can prepare a spell using red, white, and red, white, blue. Actually, we can prepare 2 spells with that, and then we've got a sacrifice that we can prepare 1 for no cost. Let's see. So I think I will go ahead and prepare Enlighten the Faithful. And I do have the column there to do that. Then I will also prepare a Corruption on a green, and then I will sacrifice a Cultist from the library to prepare... we'll prepare a Find Gate. All right, then all of that's discarded since we used it. And then on a yellow we will find another Corruption that we've got prepared, taking green and white. The investigators will discard a yellow at the other worlds to move down to the streets of Arkham. They put an investigator there. We'd get raided, except joke's on them because we still don't have any investigators in our lodge. Next, from the library, we'll discard a green, coerce the innocent to move down to the Gathering, which will be Cultist, Investigator, rolling for temporary control, which we don't get. I don't mind that too much. Gaining 3 cultists back from the Abyss, and moving 1 to the other worlds. With a green and 2 yellow, we're not going to prepare anything there. Plus, we've got a full roster of spells anyway there. So on a green, Azathoth will find another Find Gate, taking a red and a white. The investigators at the streets of Arkham will discard a green, trying to move to the Gathering, except we're there already. So they'll move up to the other worlds, and Azathoth will take his second curse. Okay, what do we want to do here? I think we're going to go ahead. We just prepared a Find Gate, and I've got to remember at the end of my turn, I can move up to 3 of my cultists. So at the start of my turn, I am going to cast Find Gate, which will give me a gate, but I have to use it for movement. And I think we're going to move over to the ceremony, which will put another cultist out and an investigator. We should be up 1, since I did gain an Elder Sign from Azathoth's Dark Gift way back in the game. Temporary control is not ours. So we get a gate card, and we gain that Elder Sign back. but we will get to advance 1 on the summon track at the end of the turn. Let's see, with 2 white and a wild, I think there 2 white and a wild. I think we'll use the wild to prepare a power surge so we can control the current location whenever we need it. All right, so that's all gone. Then we'll draw on a red. We will find Sign of the Brotherhood, taking 2 blue and a green. Choose one other cult to return one of their cultists from the abyss and place it on their lodge. You return 3. All right, the investigators at the other worlds will discard a blue to move to the museum and put a cultist out. Let's see. I think here we are going to... Where could we... So let me just look here. We've got corruption there. Power surge. And then enlighten the faithful. Okay. So I think what we're going to do here, I'm going to save that gate card for movement. But I'm going to use I'm actually going to use 2 yellow at the ceremony so I can move anywhere I want to. Where do I want to move, though? Anywhere I move, I'm going to be taking cultists. Let's move over to the gathering. Which means these 3 cultists will move to my lodge, but I won't get raided until I have 5 in my lodge. Cultist and an investigator. Rolling for temporary control, which I don't get. 3 back from the abyss, and 1 getting moved to the other worlds. With a wild green and 2 yellow, is there anything I want to cast here? Yes, there is, actually. I'm going to go ahead and cast Corruption. So I can either sacrifice 2 cultists from my lodge, which I will do that, or become cursed. I don't want to take a 3rd curse right now. Either advance 1 on the summon track or destroy 2 elder signs. I'll destroy the elder sign. And now that I've got a spell slot free, now back to the question of green, 2 yellow, and a wild. Green, 2 yellow, and a wild. I think we're going to prepare and immediately cast The Stars Are Right. So I can assign each cult, including mine, one of the following. I'm going to assign myself to remove a curse. So that's gone. And then we draw on a green, we will find Confound, taking a blue and 2 yellow. Move all investigators from one location to an adjacent location or destroy all investigators in your lodge. Unfortunately, at the museum, the investigators... let's actually, before we do that, I've been meaning to do this. I'm going to cast Enlighten the Faithful now. So at the end of my turn, I can move up to 3 of my cultists from any one location to any other location. I'm going to move from the ceremony to the other worlds. Now the investigators are discarding a green to try to move to the gathering, but they're moving up to the other worlds instead, which will give Azathoth back to his 2nd curse, and I should be up another 1 on the summon track from going to the ceremony again. Okay, so Azathoth can't keep these curses clear. I think he's going to discard a... Actually, he could go to the streets of Arkham and keep a raid at bay. If I'm willing to burn 2 of a... I'm willing to burn 2 of a... If I'm willing to burn 2 of a color. And I think... The problem here is I've got 1 card, or I've got I do have two pairs of I do have a couple of colors that I have 2 cards of. One of them I don't like. One of them I really do, though, so that's a bit of a problem. I think here, though... Let's see. We've got... Trying to decide what I want to do here. I could use the gate, but I don't have anywhere I can prepare a spell right now. So maybe it's just going up to... I think we're just going to go up to the library. I have a feeling we're going to have to try to win this game in one shot. So we are going to go up to the... Actually, I think a better idea here is probably to go to the street... is probably to risk going to the streets of Arkham. Question is, I don't really want to pop this power surge right now so I can control my location. But I might have to. So I think we're going to use the gate here. Actually, what do we have at the streets of Arkham? We've got... Actually, we do have enough to prepare Confound if we want to, which actually would just stop the raid on the spot. That could be... I think that's what we go with. The only question is, I think we use the gate to get to... I think we use the gate to get to the streets of Arkham. Which will put an investigator and a cultist out. Rolling for temporary control, which we don't get. So we'll remove 2 cultists from the lodge. We would have been able to sacrifice a cultist to remove 1 more, but we don't have control of the location. But I will go ahead and prepare and immediately cast Confound, which will let me move all investigators from one location to an adjacent location or destroy everything in the lodge. Well, I know I'm not getting raided now. So I'm probably going to try to move off from the... If I'm planning on moving to the other worlds next turn to get some progress on the summon track, I think we're going to move off from the other worlds and move everything over to the museum. Because now that I've got the Wizard's Grimoire, I'm basically happy right now with how things are looking on that front. And then on a red, I will draw Alter Fates, taking a yellow and a white. Either reroll up to 3 of your dice once or 1 of your dice up to 3 times. The investigators of the other worlds will discard a green to move to the gathering and put down another cultist. Unfortunately, I am going to have to burn one of my colors here, which I will burn to red at the streets of Arkham. I'm going to have to burn a Sign of the Brotherhood and a Witch's Curse to move up to the other worlds. I don't need a power surge here because I will most definitely control the location. But I will put a cultist out and an investigator. Now, Azathoth, surprisingly, does have a chance to get summoned right here because I have 2, 4, 6... I have 7 cultists at the location, and I control the location. So the control action here is for every Cthulhu I roll, I can return a cultist that I would sacrifice to my lodge. But here's how Azathoth has a chance to get summoned here. If all 7 of these dice come up as summons, Azathoth gets summoned and his playthrough and the play-in groups is over. Not a great performance, but not a terrible one either. Let's see what happens with Azathoth. All right, we do get 5 on the summon track plus a Cthulhu, so we sacrifice... We technically are sacrificing 5 cultists, but 1 comes back to the lodge. Azathoth will advance 5 on the summon track. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's very welcome. And that investigator should be at the other worlds. Now with a bunch of wild spells there, or with a bunch of oh, I should be drawing extra cards. Here I think we're going to use Find Gate. I think we're going to prepare a Find Gate, since we've got everything there we need for that. And then Azathoth's minimum hand size is 5, so he should be drawing 3 cards. 1, 2, 3. On a green, he'll find Transmogrify, taking a white and a yellow. Change any one rolled die to any face, but if the new face is Tentacle or Cthulhu, become cursed. On a white, an Ancient Stirring, taking 3 white. Advance 1 on the summon track. You may sacrifice one of your cultists at the current altar location to advance 1 more on the track. And Cubes of Power, taking red and white. When you're rolling dice, you may add 2 additional dice to this roll. The investigators at the gathering will discard a white to move over to the ceremony and put out another cultist. I do need to be aware of the supply of investigators, because if we don't have any in the supply, we will get raided. Let's see. Then I think at the other worlds, we will discard a green to move over to the gathering. Cultist and investigator. And here I think I'm going to cast Power Surge. Until the end of my turn, I control my current location, which is the gathering. So with that in mind, I will pull 3 cultists back from the abyss and move both of my cultists back to the other worlds. With wild green white, I think we will actually prepare a Cubes of Power, since we've got just enough there to prepare that. So that goes, so everything there goes away. And then Azathoth has 3 cards in hand, so he'll draw 2. On a blue, he'll find Witch's Curse, taking a yellow and a green. And on a white, Coerce the Innocent, taking green, blue, yellow. The investigators at the ceremony are discarding a red to move up to the library. And here is where I think Azathoth is going to go for it. So he's going to cast Find Gate to get a gate that he has to use for movement, which he's going straight to the other worlds with that. Cultist and investigator. And then we're going to use Cubes of Power to add 2 additional dice to the roll. So Azathoth is rolling 7 dice, and we control the location outright. Only 2 of them need to be summons, though, for Azathoth to get summoned and for us not to have to worry about getting a raid at the end of the turn. And I go dropping dice. 5, 6, 7. Got everything I need there. Into the cup we go. And let's give this a roll and see what happens. Okay, that'll work. Which means Azathoth would sacrifice all 5 cultists there. 2 would come back to the lodge. We'll do this by the book. But Azathoth will get summoned, since we only needed 2 more on the summon track. And with that, Azathoth has been summoned, but by the standards of this year's tournament, not a great performance by the Blind Idiot God. So Azathoth did get summoned. Elder Signs, no Elder Signs, but 2 curses. Still, not a bad leadoff performance for Azathoth to start off this second play-in group for this year's Fate of the Elder Gods tournament. As usual, now we need to reset the board, so I will put the stream as usual into Be Right Back while I reset the board, but I will be around to interact with chat, so feel free to chip in if you guys have any comments or who you might be pulling for as an Ancient One. So, be right back. All right, we are all set with our next ancient one. So let's go ahead and set up the playthrough here. First up, we'll go through, actually, we'll bring the dice back into the cup that I've got them in. Then we'll go through our artifacts that are available at the library. First up, we've got the Enchanted Cane. Exhaust to reroll one of your dice. And Skull of Lore. Action, or exhaust to roll one die. Cthulhu, discard Skull of Lore, advance one on your summon track. Greater Elder Sign, become cursed. Let's see, looping around, we need to go back to the monster reserve. So our first monster we have to choose from is the Shoggoth. Place it at the other worlds. Once summoned and at the beginning of each of your turns, roll a die for each investigator present at the Shoggoth's location. For each Cthulhu, return one investigator to the supply. For each greater elder sign, move one investigator to the next clockwise location. After all the dice have been rolled, move the Shoggoth to the next clockwise location. When the Shoggoth returns to the other world, destroy all investigators on your lodge, then remove the Shoggoth from play. And our other monster, the Hound of Tyndalos. On your turn, you may discard a token to place the Hound of Tyndalos on the summon track of any lodge. The cult's summon track cannot advance while being occupied by the Hound of Tyndalos. To remove the Hound of Tyndalos, the cult may either choose to become cursed or visit the ceremony and remove the Hound of Tyndalos instead of activating their Ancient One's Dark Gift. The Hound of Tyndalos is then returned to this card. The Hound of Tyndalos is removed from play when it returns to this card and there are no more tokens. Okay, and of course we need an Ancient One for this one. So we're going to meet the second Ancient One in Group 2, Atlach-Nacha, also known as the Spider Queen. Her dark gift is Weaver of Worlds. Place two of your cultists onto any other lodge, one from the Abyss and one from your lodge. When a lodge with your cultist places one of their cultists onto a location, you may place one of your cultists from their lodge onto that location as well. Again, I put them into the supply, and then into the investigator supply, since that's theoretically the only other cult in play. Now let's take a look at Atlach-Nacha's starting hand. On a green she has, or on a red I should say, Cubes of Power takes a blue and a green. We saw Azathoth use that to great success. Then on a yellow, we have Confound, taking white and two green. And on a green, Mind Switch, taking a red and a blue. Well, Atlach-Nacha's up first, and as much as I don't like using... This Cubes of Power is actually very, very good, and as much as I don't like using it, moving to the streets of Arkham right now is less than pointless. And I like the other spells. The question is, which one do I like less? I think we're actually just going to use the red here to move over to the library. Cultist and an investigator. We'll roll for temporary control, which we will not get with a greater elder sign. But we do get to draw 3 spells, and we get to ready an extra spell using the same astral column. We've got red and yellow, so I don't know what we're doing there. On a blue, we'll find a Transmogrify, taking a red and a green. Then on a red, Enlightening the Investigators, taking a blue and a yellow. Cast when a cult discards a monster token, that cult places 2 investigators in their lodge. And on a red, Witch's Curse, taking a blue and a yellow. Unfortunately, we're not readying anything there because we don't have any spells that take only red and yellow. On a white, we will find Shadow Walk, taking 2 yellow and a blue. At the end of your turn, you may sacrifice a cultist to immediately and become cursed to immediately take another turn. All right, the investigators will then discard a blue at the streets of Arkham to move over to the museum. There should be an investigator out there as well. I did miss that, so I'll put 2 out there now. Whoops, my mistake there. Let's see, looking at us, I will discard my Shadow Walk on a white to move down to the library, or not the ceremony. Placing a cultist and an investigator. Let's see if I get temporary control of the location. I do, since that is a Cthulhu. I'll get a gate card, and I get to trigger my Weaver of the Worlds. Place 2 cultists, one from the Abyss and one from the Lodge, into the supply. So that's going in with the investigators. And then since I have control of the location, I can sacrifice 2 of my cultists to advance 1 on Atlach-Nacha's summon track. With a blue and a white, Atlach-Nacha is not preparing anything. So on a white, she'll find Enthrall, taking 2 red. Choose a location that another cult controls. Destroy 2 of their cultists from that location. I rule that in the solo game, you can target investigators with that. The investigators will discard a red to move up to the library and place an investigator there. I'm not going to place a cultist there as well. Let's see. From the ceremony, I will use I'll use my mind switch on a green to move over to the gathering, placing a cultist and an investigator. Bring the dice tower back in shot to see if I can roll and get temporary control. Oop. Let's get that through the tower. I cannot get temporary control, so I'll gain 3 cultists back from the Abyss and move 1 up to the other worlds. Green and a white says I'm not likely preparing anything, and I'm not. On a green, I will draw. Power Surge taking a wild, and it has to be specifically a wild symbol. Until the end of your turn, you control your current location. The investigators at the library will discard a yellow to move down to the streets of Arkham. I'm not going to place an investigator there, or cultist there. That would trigger a raid, except again, joke's on them because I don't have any investigators on my lodge right now. Let's see. Next, I will discard my Transmogrify on a blue to move up to the museum. Placing a cultist and an investigator. Rolling for temporary control. And don't get it. I'll take it. I don't like either of these artifacts, so I'll take 1 from the top. So we will find Ceremonial Dagger. Return to the supply up to 5 investigators from your lodge, then become cursed. All right, then we've got red, green, white, or red, green, blue, I should say there. Unfortunately, that's not going to let me prepare anything. So on a blue, I will find Sign of the Brotherhood, taking 2 red and a blue. Choose another cult to return 1 of their cultists from the Abyss and place it on their lodge. You return 3. The investigators at the streets of Arkham will discard a white to move over to the ceremony and place a cultist, or place an investigator. I will once again abstain. Then I will discard a red at the museum to move up to the library, and I will take these 3 cultists into my lodge. But that will give me control outright of the library, which I could potentially make use of. Let's see what spells we draw there. We've also got 2 yellow, a white, and a red to work with. So first up on a yellow, Dark Pact, taking a blue and a white. Become cursed to prevent gaining all Elder Signs from a single source. Then on a red, Find Gate, taking a blue and a yellow. We saw this earlier, and Azathoth used it to great effect. We'll probably be preparing that. And on a green, Confound, taking a blue and 2 yellow. All right, so we are definitely going to prepare the Find Gate. We can use the Astral Column for that. Then Let's see, right? We had the astral column. No, we don't have the astral column for that, actually. I thought that was a... For some reason, I thought there was a blue there, but there isn't. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be the only spell I'm going to be able to prepare. So I will have to sacrifice a cultist to prepare a find gate at no cost. Then on a blue, we will find Shadow Walk, taking 2 red and a white. At the end of your turn, you may sacrifice a cultist and become cursed to immediately take another turn. I just want to double check something real quick. I'm pretty sure when you use the library on a control with a control action, you don't have to sacrifice, you don't have to clear the, what's the word I want? No astral symbols required nor discarded. Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure of. I wanted to make sure that I didn't need to discard the astral symbols there when I use the control action at the library, so I don't. Okay, now that we've got that sorted out, at the ceremony, the investigators will discard a green to move over to the gathering and place an investigator there, and I will place a cultist there. Then for me, I will use my gate at the library to move over. Do I move over to the ceremony? I was going to move over to the ceremony, but that's going to get me raided here. I think instead... That'll let me place cultists again. I think instead we're going to hold on to the gate for now. And I think... Let's see, so 2 yellow, white, blue at the streets of Arkham. I think instead we're going to discard our Dark Pact on a yellow to move down to the streets of Arkham. Cultist Investigator. We'll see if we can get temporary control. We cannot, but that's still enough to let me remove 2 cultists from the lodge. Then with 2 yellow, white, blue, 2 yellow, white, blue will let me prepare Confound. So I can use that to flatten cultists if I need to. And then on a red, I will draw an Ancient Stirring, taking 3 red. Advance 1 on your summon track. You may sacrifice 1 of your cultists at the current altar location to advance 1 more. The investigators at the gathering will discard a red to move up to the library and place a cultist. As for our turn, what do we want to do here? I think... Well, now that we're not in danger of getting raided, I think here... I think here we are going to use our gate to move over to the ceremony, which will pull these 3 cultists over to our lodge, but because there's only 4, we don't get raided. And I'm going to skip temporary control here because I would need to have 2 cultists here to be able to take advantage of the control action, which will give me another gate and let me place another 2 cultists in the supply, in the investigator supply. With a white, blue, 2 green. White, blue, 2 green. Actually, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to prepare and immediately cast a Confound that takes white and 2 green. I can either move all investigators from a location to an adjacent location, or flatten all investigators in my lodge. Bye-bye all investigators in my lodge. I think that's a pretty easy decision. With 4 there, another 1 on the lodge would get me, well, having to take investigators would get me rated with at least 7 dice, right? Well, it would get me rated with a lot of dice anyway. Then on a yellow, I will draw Alhazred's Vengeance, taking blue, white, green. Reveal when another cult takes an action that places at least 1 investigator on your lodge, that cult becomes cursed. The investigators at the library will discard a white, trying to move to the ceremony, except we're there already. So they'll move to the other worlds instead, which will put an investigator out. I'll put a cultist out from their lodge, and that will be Atlach-Nacha's first curse. Okay. So I think next we're going to use two, let me look here. Let's see, we've got red. I'm looking at going over to the gathering here. Question is, what do I want to do there? Well, I'm going to start moving, trying to start moving cultists up to the other worlds. At least is what I want to do. The only question is, how do I want to get there? I think the way I'm going to get there is by discarding 2 blue, go over to the gathering. That will pull the 3 cultists, the three investigators to my lodge, which will put the last investigator, or my last cultist out, and an investigator. But I control the location outright, so I get 3 cultists back, and I can move all 3 of these up to the other worlds. Let's see, with a blue, red, white, green, Alhazred's Vengeance actually is not that useful here, so I'm not going to bite the bullet on that one. On a green, Atlach-Nacha will find Witch's Curse, taking a white and a red. Choose a cult, that cult becomes cursed. The investigators of the other worlds will discard a green trying to move to the gathering, except they were there. And I never did figure out, I think I ruled that they move back to, oh, I didn't realize there was a different control action location, and I can gain 3 Elder Signs to destroy a curse. Let's see. If you occupy, okay, so looks like they just move back to the other worlds, which gives us our second curse. Puts an investigator up there, and we'll put a cultist there as well. We're definitely piling up there for a big roll. Let's see what we want to do here. I think here we're going to discard a... do I want to use my gate? Try to go... Well, I kind of want to be able to save my gate for the other worlds. I'm not going to need a Power Surge, probably not a Witch's Curse either. I'll put those to the side for now. I'm going to use the Witch's Curse at the gathering to move up to the library, because I want to try to get control of the location so I can prepare this Ancient Stirring for free. But in order to do that, I need to get temporary control of the location. Which I do not manage to get. That's unfortunate. So then we'll draw 3 cards. 3. On a green, Alter Fate, taking a yellow and a red. On another green, the Stars Are Right, taking a blue, taking 2 blue and a red. And on a white, Enlighten the Faithful, taking blue, green, white. Blue, green, yellow, I should say. So we can ready 2 spells with the same astral column. We've got red, 2 white, 3 yellow. That's a pretty gross combination, actually. Well, I will use a Confound here. Actually, do I want to use Confound? Okay, so I do have a Find Gate I could use. I will go ahead and use Confound so I can get rid of these 3 investigators. Now what do I want to prepare, now that I've got the astral column a little bit clearer for me to tell what's there? I think here I will go ahead and prepare an Alter Fate. And I'll prepare and immediately cast a Witch's Curse to get rid of one of these curses. So everything is gone there. Come on. And then on a white we'll find another Ancient Stirring, okay. That could be useful. That takes 3 white. Speaking of white, the investigators will discard a white at the other worlds to move to the ceremony and put an investigator out. Now's where I'm going to pop the... Actually, am I going to pop the find gate, or am I going to use my regular gate? I think here I'm going to pop my find gate. So I have a gate that I have to use for movement, but I am going to go up to the other worlds, which will pull those 3 cultists in. All right. All right, that'll give me a cultist there and an investigator. 2, 4, 6, 8. I've got 8 dice at this, and I've got an alter fate. The problem here is I need all 8 of these to be summons for Atlach-Nacha to get summoned and advance with potential tiebreakers. So 4, 8. All right. We do have control of the location, though, so any Cthulhu's bring it cultists back to our lodge. But let's see what happens here. Okay, so that looks to be 2, 4, 6, which means we'll sacrifice 6 cultists, 2 of whom are going to come back to the lodge, and then Atlach-Nacha will advance 6 on the summon track. Let's see, we've got 2 white and a wild. Actually, I think we can get this done here. So I am going to use the 2 white and the wild there to prepare and immediately cast an Ancient Stirring, which will let me advance 1 on the summon track, and then I'll sacrifice a cultist from the current location to advance 1 more on the summon track, which means Atlach-Nacha has managed to get summoned with 1 curse. So we have another tie situation with Azathoth. Actually, no, we don't have a tie situation with Azathoth. Atlach-Nacha is currently in control of this second play-in group. So with that being done, once again, I'm going to put the stream into Be Right Back while I reset the board for the last ancient one of Group 2. So be right back. Okay. Tabbing back in for our last playthrough, for our last Ancient One in Group 2. First of all, as usual, we'll do all of our setup. We'll look at our artifacts starting off at the library. First up, or at the museum, I should say. First up, we've got the Dust of Yuggoth. Discard this to discard a spell from your hand to cancel any spell being cast. The spell is discarded without effect, basically useless in the solo game. And next up, the Elder Mask, which we've seen earlier. Moving over to the Monster Reserve, our first option. The Bayaki, which we saw earlier. And the Migo. On your turn, instead of playing an astral symbol, you may discard a token to move the fate piece to another location and place a Migo there instead of a cultist. Migo are considered cultists, but count as 2 for purposes of control, but they can't be sacrificed. After a token is discarded and Migo are placed in the location, if the artifact symbol is revealed, place an artifact face down from the top of the artifact deck in the current location's astral column. The next cult to ready a spell there takes the artifact. Let's see, there was one other thing. Here they are. One other thing I need with this Ancient One, with this last Ancient One of Group 2. I'm just going to give these a quick shuffle off camera. Didn't mean to jar the camera there. Sorry about that. And now those will become relevant for the last Ancient One of Group 2 as we're looking at Ithaqua, the Windwalker. His dark gift is Wendigo. Remove all Winter Squall tokens from the altar. Shuffle them all, draw 3, and look at them. Place the tokens on 3 different locations face down. Destroy an investigator or cultist from each of those locations. When a cult activates a location with the Winter Squall token, reveal the squall and apply the effect. Then discard the token. We may have some house rule effects on what some of these tokens do for the solo game. Then looking at our hand of spells, on a green we will find Alter Fate taking a red and a yellow. Speaking of yellow, we will find Enlighten the Faithful taking red, white, blue. And on a white, an Ancient Stirring taking 3 white, which is how Atlach-Nacha is right now in control of this second play-in group. So now that we're all set, we're starting at the other worlds. I don't want to use that Ancient Stirring, but I might not have a choice in the matter. Well, we are miles away from casting that. Actually, we might be closer if I use this to move, I won't be able to prep it for obvious reasons. But I will have to use it to move down to the ceremony, which will put a cultist and an investigator out. And the rest of these dice can go back in the cup, preferably without making the dice tower fall apart on me. Put that right there. And Ithaqua rolling for temporary control, which he does not get. What he will get, though, is a gate and the ability to look at 3 of these Winter Squall tokens that I've got right here. We'll give these a quick shuffle. And a cut. And then we'll look at 3 of these. So the first Winter Squall token. Discard your hand of spell cards, then draw 2. That could be useful if we've got garbage in our hand and we go there. I'm not sure what I'll do for that. Maybe if the investigators go there first, it'll say something like, I draw 2 spell cards. Then, no effects. And you become cursed. Which if the investigators go there, that would be I remove a curse. Let's see. I'm just going to put these face up because it's a solo game. Let's go... No effects at the library. You become cursed at the streets of Arkham. And discard your hand, then draw 2. Up at the museum. Then with a white and a yellow, we aren't able to prepare anything. On a red, Ithaqua will find Transmogrify, taking a white and a blue. The investigators at the streets of Arkham will discard a white or a green to move over to the gathering. And put an investigator out. At the ceremony, I will discard a red to move up to the library, and I get the no effects. All right. Then I draw... Well, I've got to remember to put out the cultist and the investigator. Then rolling for temporary control. Remember, Ithaqua also needs to get out of here with summoned and no elder signs or curses to advance outright. I do get temporary control of the location, so I can prepare a spell at no cost by sacrificing a cultist. But let's see what we draw first. 1, 2, 3. Excuse me. On a green, we find Sign of the Brotherhood. On a red, an Ancient Stirring, which may be the spell we prepare for free. And another Sign of the Brotherhood. So on a red and a yellow, I don't think I have... Oh, I do have actually something that I can prepare with that, which I will go ahead and prepare an Alter Fate for the Astral column. And then for the free prepare, I'll sacrifice a cultist to prepare and immediately cast an Ancient Stirring, which will let me advance 1. Then I'll sacrifice a cultist to advance again. All of that's... The yellow card there is gone because I did use something there I did use the column there to prepare. That should be discarded. Then on a red, we will find Enlighten the Faithful, taking blue, white, yellow. Okay. The investigators will discard a white to move over to the ceremony and place an investigator. We will discard a green at the library to move down to the gathering. Cultist, investigator. Temporary control, which we don't get. What I will get, though, is 3 cultists back from the lodge and 1 up to the other worlds. Green and yellow, I'm not preparing anything there. On a red, I will find Call of the Wicked Ones. Summon a monster and become cursed, taking a blue and 2 green. The investigators will discard a white at the ceremony, trying to move to the ceremony, but they're already there. So they'll move to the other worlds instead. And put an investigator out. Let's see. I don't much like my hand right now, so I think I will use my sign of the... I'm going to use my blue there, which would send me to discard my hand of spell cards, then draw 2 cards. I think instead we are going to... We're going to use Call of the Wicked Ones on a red to move up to the library. Cultist, investigator. See if we get temporary control, which we do not. So we can ready an additional spell that takes red and green. I get 3 cards. On a blue, Enthrall taking 2 white. On a yellow, Call of the Wicked Ones taking red and 2 blue, Elhat Garbaggio. And on a red, Enlighten the Investigators. Unfortunately, we've got nothing that we can prepare there anyway. Nope, everything is too expensive. So on a yellow, we will find Alhazred's Vengeance. We saw this earlier, not that useful right now. The investigators will discard a yellow at the other worlds to move down to the streets of Arkham. Triggering this, I don't have a curse to remove, so nothing happens there. But the investigators do put another investigator at the streets of Arkham. As for my turn, I do have a couple of ways I can prepare Enlighten the Faithful, but I think what I'll do for now is I'll discard 2 yellow to move up to the other worlds, which will put a cultist and an investigator down. I do control the location outright, so I will get the control effect. I'm not going to worry about my alter fate right now. Let's see what I can do with 3 dice here. Sacrifice 1 cultist back to the Abyss and advance 1 on the summon track up to 3. Then with 2 yellow or 2 white, yellow, and wild. 2 white, yellow, and wild. I'm actually going to prepare 1 of my Enlighten the Faithfuls. Let's see, is there a certain one that I want to prepare? Let's see if I keep... Unfortunately, they both take blue, so I can't really set myself up to cast the other one immediately. So I don't think it really matters which one I use here, but I will use the... I'll use the blue, white, yellow version. I'm using the wild symbol there as a blue. And then on a green, I will draw Power Surge taking a purple. And then at the end of my turn, I'm going to remember, not be a scatterbrained dimwit about it. I'm going to cast that Enlighten the Faithful that I prepared, so I can move up to 3 of my cultists from any one location to anywhere else. I'll take the 2 from the ceremony and move them up to the other worlds. And I've got a gate that I can use to move right back there when I'm ready to. Then on a red at the streets of Arkham, the investigators will move up to the library, putting an investigator out. Let's see. I will next use 2 blue at the other worlds to move down to the gathering. I will end up taking these 3 cultists into the lodge, but I'm willing to take the risk here. Cultist, investigator. Rolling for temporary control, which I don't get. 3 cultists back from the Abyss, 1 to the other worlds. With green, yellow, red, I'm not going to be able to prepare anything there. So on a blue, I will find Mind Switch taking a green and a white. Speaking of white, that's what the investigators are discarding at the library to move back down to the ceremony. Now, what do I want to do here? If I take those 4 investigators at the library, I'm just getting raided right here. Let's see, 6. I'd have to get Exactsies if I want to go for... If I want to go for the win here, I would need Exactsies on the other worlds to go for a summon right now. I could use an Enlighten the Faithful to move over to the streets of Arkham and clear some of these cultists out. So that looks like a little less dangerous play, and I think that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm going to use my Enlighten the Faithful on a yellow move down to the streets of Arkham, putting out a cultist and an investigator, rolling for temporary control, which I don't get. But it will let me remove 2 of the investigators from my lodge. With a yellow, green, 2 red, I'm not able to prepare anything there. On a blue, I will find Rack taking 2 yellow. The investigators at the ceremony will discard a blue to move up to the museum, which will trigger that winter squall. So I will get to draw 2 more spell cards. They'll put an investigator at the museum. I get 2 cards. On a blue, I find Confound taking a blue and 2, or taking a green and 2 red. And on a green, Coerce the Innocent, taking red, yellow, white. Let's see. So now the question is, do I want to go for game here? And I think the answer to that is yes, I do. So at the streets of Arkham, we're going to discard our gate to move up to the other worlds, placing a cultist and an investigator. So Ithaqua is going to be rolling 6 dice, and we do have Alter Fate for a reroll if I think I need it. Ithaqua here has taken no curses. If he gets all 6 of these to be summon results, Ithaqua will advance into the winners group without needing to worry about any tiebreakers with Atlach-Nacha. If not, game will continue, and I do have something else I can prepare. But let's see what happens with this summon roll for Ithaqua. Let's see, I would need... Actually, let's go ahead and cast Alter Fate. So we've got 4 summons here. We'll re-roll the 2 Lesser Elder Signs. And Ithaqua gets it. So Ithaqua will summon all 6 cultists, or sacrifice all 6 cultists. 1 back to the lodge. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ithaqua does get summoned with no Elder Signs or curses. Ithaqua will actually advance straight into the winners group. And I believe that is... If I can click in, that is actually the 2nd year in a row. That'll be the 2nd year in a row. This will be the 2nd year in a row that Ithaqua has advanced into the winners group. So Ithaqua looking for a little bit of revenge after Christmas in Arkham 2021. And actually Shubni Gudath is looking for revenge from Christmas in Arkham 2022. But that will do it for this playthrough of Group 2 of the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament. Later this afternoon, I'm going to be playing something else, but I haven't decided what that will be yet. Tomorrow, we're going to have plenty of gaming goodness on the channel. Tomorrow, probably morning, we will have Group 3 of the Fate of the Elder Gods tournament, as Yig, Cthulhu, and Azathoth will be waiting for their chance to get summoned. And tomorrow afternoon, we'll have something else on the channel as well, but again, haven't completely decided what either of those next couple of games are going to be yet. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care, everyone.